And welcome back, everyone, to the Pokemon Team Creation Series. Today's Pokemon Team Creation Series suggestion comes to us from, I always end up butchering this, Okacha? Or Okaha? Who asked the question, what is the Pokemon team of, I believe it's Daki from Demon Slayer, our first Demon Slayer character, everyone, on this series. Should note, I don't read or watch Demon Slayer, so if I have screwed anything up with backstory, anything like that, be kind, be gentle, and don't be a dick. But she is apparently a former human turned demon and an antagonist in the series. She describes being a voluptuous, beautiful woman, but also being extremely arrogant, haughty, and sometimes like very bratty and temperamental. She is still dangerous, however. Like, she's super strong and has a demon blood art ability called Obi-Sash. I don't know if it's actually called that. But essentially, she can turn her skin into these Obi-Sashes that can like be used to like bind, slice, harden, and can even be sentient. So, what is a Pokemon team for her going to look like? When it comes to demon-type characters, you're going to lean very heavy into things like dark and ghost-type Pokemon, because those are the closest things we have to demons in the Pokemon world. So her starter certainly is going to be one of those. I decided to go with Mega Bayonet. Now, or Bayonetta. So, I went with Mega Bayonetta because from an aesthetic point of view, when we factor her in her kimono and in this form, I think this is not a bad looking representation of that. Also, it's got a high attack power, which leads itself well towards the offensive capabilities of her. She is a melee fighter predominantly. Even her Obi-Sashes are just melee. So I went with that first. Then, for the next mon on the team to show up, another ghost type, I decided to go with Misdreavus, not Miss Magnus. Now, why? Well, honestly, this is more of an aesthetic appeal. I think this looks closer to her than Miss Magius does. I think it just works better in that capacity. Again, going for aesthetic appeal, but still leaning towards the demonic ghost type theme. We have Oricorio, I believe it's the ghost form. I can't remember its actual name. This, again, because of the traditional Japanese styles, cultures, and the fact we see her very often in the kimono, I think that it works well for just a filler Pokemon on the team. She's also described as being very beautiful and shown to be very beautiful. So I knew, again, Pokemon making a lot of work, getting a lot of work lately. Milotic. This also does look, though, like a Pokemon that could work for a team. Again, color scheme-wise, works pretty well. Its long, would you call those ears? Milotic's based on a couple different things, sea serpents, oarfish, all that. I've never actually thought about the sirens. I've never thought if those are ears or not. Let's just call them ears for the sake of this. Her ears look like those sash is. So I think this actually works pretty well. Also, it works along with the next Pokemon because as a human, she nearly burned to death. So she actually has an inherited fear of fire. So it would make sense that she'd want Pokemon on the team that could counteract fire. Speaking of which, another water type, Gyarados. Why? Because actually, it and Milotic are kind of polar opposites of each other, and so forth and so on. But more to the point, it's another water type, and it's very temperamental, which she is also very temperamental. Last but not least, though, I did want to try to find a mon specifically to represent that demon blood art of the Obi-Sash. Unfortunately, we do not have a good mon for that right now. There's no mon that has these sash just like appendages on the back that attack the opponent. There's some mon that kind of look that way. Giratina in its origin form looks kind of that way. Not Beldum or Breloom, what am I thinking here? Medicham, where did I get that? Anyway, Medicham, when it's Mega Evolved, looks kind of like that, but not really. So I just went with the first aesthetic, and I already have a Mega, so wasn't going to use Mega Medicham. But I went with a Celgor. It's got these two sashes on the back, and honestly, it does look like a Pokemon a Demon Slayer character would have. It just has that right aesthetic to it. It's also pretty fast and physically powerful, which she is as well. So, there you go. Now, in terms of how balanced this team is, this team actually isn't all that weak or strong in the grand scheme. Like, there's not a huge amount of either, although it's got a times 3 weakness to Ghost because of the 3 Ghost types, as well as a times 3 weakness to Dark. Times 2 weakness to Electricity with your 2 Water types. Although, actually, that's a ×3 weakness. I should have written that better. Just due to the fact that there's also a flying type on the team. And a ×2 weakness to rock because Gyarados is also weak to rock. On the flip side, though, it's got a ×3 strength against Ghost, ×4 strength against Psychic types because of the bug typing of Excelgor, ×2 weakness strength against Fire, Ground, Rock, and Grass. So, yeah, it's not bad in terms of its balancing. Unfortunately, what really kills this team is where I ultimately ended up placing all these Mon in the long scheme of things. Because her starter would be a Shuppet. And real quick, there are just regions where she's not getting past the first freaking gym. She's not getting past, like, she would struggle hard against Roxanne and Rorik because they have 3 Pokemon with heavy defenses and heavy attack. Now, granted, they're rock types, so their special defense is weak, but the problem is Shuppet doesn't really learn any super strong attacking moves or physical moves early on. You have to get to like 19 to learn Shadow Sneak to learn anything really solid. But then if you're talking about after that, once you get, looking at Kanto, once you get the Surge, you would struggle a little bit. Oricorio would go down quick to electric move, but Shuppet and Mischievous might be able to hang in there enough. It's not a guarantee, but you might be able to do it. And after that, you really clear cut throughout the rest of the gyms. Like Milotic's going to struggle against Erica, no doubt, but Oricorio's flying type does now come an advantage. And you still have a decently statted Mischievous. Shuppet's still going to be a bit of a problem. Once you get past that, though, you honestly got clean sailing all the way to the late 4. You might, however, stop at Agatha because she's a ghost poison user. 2 Gengars, I believe it's 2 Gengars, a Hunter, a Golbat, an Arbok. I think, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, you have no good options against poison on this team. Except for, I think, Bug is somewhat resistant to poison, or it's the vice versa. I can't remember. But point being, yeah, you don't have any good option for poison. And the Gengar, despite how strong Mega Bayonet is, outspeeds everything on this team. Except for the Excelgor, which they're going to be resisting anyway, because Ghost does resist Bug. And she's got 2 of them. So, I think it's either 2 of those or 2 Haunters and a Gengar. Either way, that Gengar's outspeeding your Bayonet. And Ghost is weak to Ghost. I think you might reach a stop point when it comes to Agatha. And you certainly would reach a stop point when it comes to Lance, because you just have nothing to do with Dragon here. So it's a no. Johto, honestly, you would probably be fine all the way to Claire. And by then you have a full team here, because you now have Mega Bayonetta. You now have Gyarados, which has Intimidate. You now, you should have, all these guys would be fully evolved, because half of them are 2 of them are Train Evos. And the others, 2, one of them is a Stone Evo, which isn't going to matter. And one evolves early, and then one's Mega Evolved. It would be a tough fight, though, because the water's going to be resisted by the Dragon. But I think you could still pull it off. You should also be able to handle Will, no problem. And if you got past Koga, you handle Bruno, no problem. It's Koga, Karen, and Lance that are the big issues with Johto. Koga, because he's got a combination of Poison, Bug, and Steel with Fortress in there as well. And if you're talking about things at speed, Crobat outspeeds nearly everything on the team. I think it even outspeeds Excelgor, which means, and I think that knows acrobatics in the most recent versions of Johto, which means you're pretty effed. It'd be difficult. I don't know if it's impossible, but it's difficult. And then Karen's a dark type trainer, which wipes out half this team from the get. Because you got Houndoom, you got Umbreon, you got Murkrow. She also has a Vileplume and a Sneasel. The Vileplume's got to be problematic for your 2 water types. Because Gyarados, as of Gen 9, the only flying type move a Gyarados can learn is a Hurricane TM. And that's a special move. Gyarados is more a physical attacker. So, I mean, more or less, if I remember correctly. Anyway. Point being, and that's the only flying move. So, why did you give it the flying type? It's like, well, because of it. I don't care. Then make it a damn dragon. Anyway. So, yeah, Karen's going to be a problem. Absolutely. A Selgor can honestly clip through a bunch of the dark types, but once you hit it, but Houndoom comes out, you need to get the Selgor out fast. Otherwise, your one speed demon against the dark types is done. And Murkrow's not going to be taken down in one shot by a Selgor either, despite being a low statted Mon. So then even if you got past her, which is not impossible, got to deal with Lance with 3 Dragonites on the team, plus Charizard, Aerodactyl, and Gyarados. No, it's just not happening. Hoenn, Roxanne's already going to be a problem. Watson would also be a struggle. This is, by the way, assuming you can even get past Roxanne. Watson would be a struggle. Flannery wouldn't be a problem. Normandy wouldn't even be a problem. Honestly, if you can get past Roxanne, she is probably the most difficult one to get past in this version because, or in this region, because you'll at least have 3 Mon to fight against Watson. Yeah, Oricorio's going down fast, but at least you still will get a hit in probably. Honestly, though, because you have steel, he has steel types as well, Magnetons and Magnemites, you're probably not getting past Watson, and you're going to reach a big wall against Sydney. Yeah, he has Selgor against his 2 dark grass types, but still not going to be easy. And then you got to deal with Phoebe, and then you still got to deal with Drake, and you're not getting past Drake. So it's a no-go on Hoenn as well. Rourke, I already said it flat out. I just don't think you're getting past Rourke. If that Cranny does hit you once with, say, Bulldoze, you're done. You're done. That's just it. You're done. Because Shuppet has no good defenses. It is a very weak first stage Pokemon. So I just think it's a no-go from the get. Then comes Unova. You would stop in the original Black and White with Lenora because that Watchog has Crunch. And if that Watchog has Crunch, your 2 ghost types, weak ghost types, are done. So you stop immediately there. You would struggle a little, definitely struggle with Roxy, but I think you could possibly get past Roxy because Misdreavus still wasn't designed as a, single stage. Our first stage Pokemon was designed as a single stage. So it's not impossible, but it'd be difficult. After that, though, you would surprisingly, I think, not have that big an issue throughout majority of the gyms. The Drayden and Iris would be difficult if Drayden, because he's the champion in Black and White too, or the gym leader Black and White too. Marlin is just your neutral, and good luck with that. But yeah, then dealing with the Elite Four, I mean, honestly, you're probably stopped at Drayden, to be honest. Yeah, Mega Bayonet, but you still got to deal with a freaking Haxorus. That being said, if you did get past it, the fighting type wouldn't be an issue because half of your team's immune to it. Psychic type, you can get through with no problem. The ghost and the dark type Elite Four members would be difficult. They would be difficult. Now, granted, a Selgor can outspeed most of the dark types on that team, but that doesn't mean he's going to be able to one-shot them. So the dark type's probably going to be the one you have the most trouble with. And then we get to Iris. Even with a Mega Evolved Bayonet, you're not outspeeding a lot of her team. So you're in trouble, especially with Hydreigon. In fact, that Hydreigon is probably going to just wreck the entirety of your team. Even a Selgor's speed isn't going to save you there. So, yeah, no, can't do it in Unova. Can't do it in Kalos. You stop at Grant because that Tyrant has Bite and Strong Jaw, which means your Shuppet and your Misdreavus are done. Just done. There's nothing more to talk about. In Galar, quite frankly, you'd stop at Nessa because her Dreadnought has Bite and can Gigantamax. So, or Dynamax anyway. So, no, not happening in Galar either. And last but not least, you're stuck. You stop at Iono. Oricorio goes down quick, and then you're stuck with 2 very low-level, under-evolved Mon. Shuppet's not going to be able to do much. Shadow, it can Nightshade and Sneak Attack a little bit, but that's not much. And then Misdreavus, again, isn't going to be able to do much against frickin' a Hex Paralysis, a Hex Confusion Mismagius that can terrestrialize into Electric to avoid its Ghost weakness. You're not getting with Levitate. You're not getting past that. Not with this team. So ultimately, yeah, you can't become champion with any of these teams. It's kind of sad because if you maybe swapped a couple of these around, you might have a better shot. If I were to just maybe do a hypothetical real quick, if you get to the Elite Four of every region, could you, let's say, let's just say you get to the Elite Four of Sinnoh. Could you beat the Elite Four Sinnoh with this fully evolved team? No, you couldn't. Aaron already is going to be a problem because of Bug and Ghost weird interactions. Then you got to deal with Bertha. That one wouldn't be so problem. Nor would Flint. Will would be problematic because that Mr. Mind's a fairy type now. And then there's no way in hell you're beating Cynthia. It's just not happening. Spiritomb alone is going to cause you so much problems. And then Garchomp can just wreck shop on most of these things. So yeah, could you beat Alder hypothetically? No, you could not, because he also has a Celgor, but he also has Excavalier, which you have no good answer for. He also has Buffalont, which, while you're immune to the normal type moves, is also immune to your ghost type moves, and you have no strong response. Plus, he knows more than just ghost type moves. Then there's also the Druddigona dragon type. You have the the Vanillux, the ice type, and then Volcarona, which can wreck shop on nearly all of this team. So Alder's a no. What about in Kalos? Could you theoretically defeat Diantha? No. Okay. The Hawlucha you would be okay against starting out, but then you got to deal with the freaking Tyrantrum, and I don't think you got a good answer for that here. Yeah, you got water, but Dragon resists water, so Rock's weakness is negated. And so you're going to pretty much have a Mega Bayonet right out the gate just trying to take this thing on. Yeah, you'll probably have to try to switch into Milotic and then probably lose the Milotic while trying to take down the Tyrantrum. Then you have Auroras, which that should be no problem for a Gyarados to handle. Then you have Goodra, which is a tank and you have no answer for. Not to mention Gourgeist, which again is surprisingly tanky and a ghost type. And then you got to deal with a Psychic Fairy Mega Gardevoir, no. Diantha gets slept on a bit, I think. I think the reason people don't like her that much is the fact that she's just there. She's one of those champions that just exists. She's not really relevant in the story. Lance, for example, is very irrelevant in the Johto story. Steven, you keep meeting him regardless, over and over again. He's, I can't wait for the fight and all that. In Hoenn, Cynthia is very integral to the story. Alder, she keeps showing up, especially later in the story. Even, the champion of Alola is Kukui, so he's integral to the story. Leon, obviously, it goes without saying. And even Gita is very present in the story, where she just kind of shows up, I think, once or twice, and that's it. So, yeah, don't you think it's a little too much gruff? You're not beating freaking Leon at all. Even with Mega Bayonet, you got to deal with Aegislash first. Then you got to deal with freaking Dragapult. And you want to talk about a mon that is tailor-made to sweep this team? It is Dragapult. Again, if I remember correctly, it has Thunderbolt, Flamethrower, Shadow Ball, and the reason they didn't give it Dragon, I think I said it last time, but the reason they didn't give it Dragon Breath, Dragon Darts, its signature moves, because it would literally just break the team. It would just be like, I can't get past this. And then you still gotta deal with a Haxorus afterwards. Not to mention the 2 interchangeable mon, plus that 1 starter, and then whatever the other one is, and his Charizard. Like, it's just no. And then Gita is always a weird one. Honestly, no, you cannot beat Gita. And the reason is one mon called King Gambit. Steel Dark, your Celgor doesn't mean shit against that. That neutralizes that. And then it's just going to take out all your ghost types quick. And then, your water types are going to struggle, assuming Go-Go isn't already gone. If Go-Go, I can't remember the order she usually does it in, but if Go-Go is gone and you beat the King Gambit, you might have a shot with Gita if you were able to get that far. But that's assuming you could get that far. Like I said, I don't think you can become champion with any of these mon, or this team at all. But what do I know? If this team were like say fully evolved, if it was a Miss Magius, would I maybe have a different thought process on where some of these teams kind of just stop? Honestly, I still don't think you beat Iono. You might beat Nessa. Because you'd have a fully evolved mon at that point. But even if you did, the point is you still wouldn't get past Leon, even if you did make it all the way through. Could you get past Grant? Maybe. But again, I still don't think you're beating Diantha. Could you get past Lenora? No, I think that Watchog is still going to take down the Mismagius personally. So, yeah, no, it's a no-go with this team. But remember, I don't make these to be competitive viable or try to actually beat the game. I make it to match the character, and that's what we did. At least I hope I did a decent job. Let me know what you think. But until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you folks for the next one. Later.